Hello.
Hi.
Say hi. Hi. We are in a client's conference room today because we are out of town. We're away from the office. And so we're like, where can we go have this live for you people that isn't obnoxious? And so Meg had a great idea to meet at our client's office. So they gave us their whole giant, beautiful conference room. So, yay. Okay. What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking
Michael.
about...
How you doing? Good to see you, man.
Today we are talking about change makers and how you can use IX leadership as a change maker, either internally in your own organization or externally as a consultant.
I'm bringing up the questions.
So I'm going to just move
That's a great shot.
Good God.
I'm admiring my face.
Yikes. I'm so glad that's going to be the picture that everyone sees when they first look at it.
Me too.
So before we get started, some announcements.
Oh, announcements, right.
I will be teaching a class in Rapid City at Black Hills State University Rapid campus, which is right by Wautiki, or behind Wautiki, off exit 61. Next week, Monday and Tuesday, we are not quite full yet, so if you would like to participate, I would encourage you to go find the event on Facebook and sign up. It's a 2-day class from 9 to 4 each day. You will get your culture type assessment, you'll learn how to culture type other people, and we'll cover lots of important topics on leadership, communication, experience cube, accountability, transparency, creating values and vision.
It's a lot in 2 days, let me tell you.
Yeah, so don't miss that. Rachel is going to be in Sioux Falls, so if you're over there, you can try and catch up with her. Her schedule's already pretty full of meetings, but she will be there Friday.
I'm speaking to the MB Women in Leadership Cohort 2019. And meeting with some clients over there. So yeah, give me a shout out. I might have some time Friday evening to hang out. So let me know. The other thing that's kind of big news is for furloughed government employees or contractors, we're offering some of our services at no charge. So if you're interested in letting us know, there's some weird so OMB, Office of Management and Budget, and the federal government, for the non-feds in the room, they have a gift limit. And depending on how you interpret that depends on if you can actually take advantage of what we're offering. But, we are going to let individuals make that decision. So we're making the offer. And please share with people that might be interesting or might want to have some leadership training while they're not being able to do their real job. So.
Yes, and we will not address the political aspects of that because I don't have anything nice to say.
That's right. Nobody has anything nice to say about it, really, I don't think.
What else? Rachel will also be in Atlanta in
That's February.
After.
No, the next trip is Nashville.
Oh, in Nashville for Hero Club and insurance agency conference.
Yeah, Michael, are you going to be in Nashville? Because we're going to be there. Me and Mike Bakarian are teaming up we're supporting Baumo and their IA recruiting software to incorporate culture typing into recruitment. So this is kind of our pilot group that we're going to see, and they're having their quarterly meeting in Nashville. So we're going to go talk to people about what culture typing can do for them and why it's important. So if you're in the Nashville area or know somebody that I should meet with, let me know. I'm there for like 3 days. So we'd love to meet you in person or anybody that you think might be worth meeting.
Yes. Also within the next, January 30th, I'm spending the afternoon with some of our finest officials in the state, doing a conference with the South Dakota Sheriff's Association at their institute, their annual institute. And I guess we've had such rave reviews, they opened it up to other, what do you call that? Not authority.
Law enforcement officials.
good Lord, law enforcement officials. So there are some actual municipality police folks that are coming as well. So that'll be pretty exciting. So in the next couple weeks, if you get pulled over, you can say, well, gee, officer,
No,
I am an IX ambassador,
I'm a fixer,
and I just would really appreciate it if you, as a fellow IX ambassador, would not give me a ticket. Meg says I could ask for that.
That's right.
So
you can ask them what type they are, and then you can have a conversation about culture types, and then distract them from actually giving you a ticket.
Yes. Okay, one other thing that's really important. We have, I'm using the royal we, Rachel, actually. Rachel has created a new template format for our survey. And so now you can actually get a full report that says, well, primarily you're a fixer, and then you're an independent, and then you're a stabilizer, and then you're an organizer. And so we're calling that your bespoke culture type assessment. If you'd like information on that, let us know. We've got a link that takes you right to that. In order to get your bespoke one, it's $20 or something. So you can get that for yourself or everyone in your organization. It's a great way to really understand how someone's brain works at work and in their work environment. So I think that I actually posted that link about 2 or 3 weeks ago that you guys helped me test. And so thanks for all your effort to get that tested. It's now ready to go and officially released for use by everybody. So we're going to really be using the heck out of that. We already have, I think, over 500 people have already taken the assessment through that venue. We did add it up, by the way, and we're at about 5,000 people we've culture typed, which is crazy exciting. And we're trying this Nashville event. We're going to try to type as many new people as we can, because it's really what people love about what we do. It's kind of our gateway drug. It's kind of how we get them hooked. So it's the pot of things. Pot's not really a gateway drug.
I was like, pot, what are you?
Pot is not really a gateway drug.
Really.
Anyway, that's another opinion for another day. Okay. So we are talking today about change makers internally to an organization or externally. An external change maker is like a consultant. If you have been hired by someone else, or if you've not been hired but just been asked advice for how you help them with their business or their issue. So this could be a Friday afternoon barbecue with your pals, or it could be a legitimate business. Yeah.
And it also, I think, don't think of yourself that you have to be a business consultant. A lot of people we work with are other types of service providers. If you think legal or psychology or even software, or even people like we're rolling out a new, what would be an example? Rolling out a new, like Salesforce. I talked to an enterprise saleswoman at Salesforce, and she said their biggest challenge is implementing things. And so she's interested in how our stuff, they can be an external change agent, even though they're not really about change or about business consulting specifically or leadership. They do sales consulting. And so they thought it was a great idea to help them implement that. So almost any time that you're working a B2B, business to business relationship, this can be crazy helpful.
Yeah. And so if you're an internal change maker, does that mean I have to be in the HR department, or I have to be in the org development department, or I have to be on some we're the innovation people team? Absolutely not. A lot of people think, well, gosh, I'm not a change maker, or people don't look up to me, or people don't listen to me, and that's probably not true. If this stuff interests you and you think, oh gosh, I could use this to talk to a person at work, or what have you, on my softball team, whatever it might be, you're a change maker. And being a change maker you don't have to be chaos tolerant to be a change maker. So you don't have to be a fixer or an independent. You might be an organizer, you might be a stabilizer. It doesn't really matter. If you desire something to be changed, that makes you a change maker. So I think that really, no matter what situation you're in, you can consider yourself a change maker. And that's the first real hurdle. is to kind of, if there is a problem and you want to find a solution, that makes you a change maker, and kind of getting your head around that and not feeling like, I haven't been with the company long enough, or I'm not old enough. No one sees me as a resource or an expert on anything. That doesn't matter. Now, in reality, it might matter a little bit because you might work for a stagio law firm and you're, a paralegal or a legal assistant, and they're like, yeah, whatever. But we're going to share with you some tips and tricks today about how you don't have to worry about that and how you can kind of get your message through, even if you're not perceived in your own mind as a change maker.
And I would say too, we're going to roll culture types into this specifically, but one of the things that might be a mindset challenge for you is, if you're a fixer or an independent, this might seem like, oh, well, yeah, I see this is a problem, we should go fix it. But honestly, that's not necessarily an intuitive place for you to be if you're a stabilizer or an organizer. So if something's not working, a lot of times what we see stabilizers doing is thinking, I wish someone would fix this. It's broken, it's not working. I know a woman, she's adorable. I just love her to death. And she says, oh, we have this new employee handbook, and we're all following that. Sort of like some people are trying to make things happen or make rules that they didn't really talk to anybody about, and they rolled it out really poorly. But she's a stabilizer, so she doesn't feel like she should go into the boss's office and say, this isn't really working because of all these reasons. She just is hoping somebody else fixes it. That's not necessarily bad, because that's who we are. But if there's really a problem that's hurting the team, the organization, your clients, it might take stabilizers and organizers more to see how they can actually be a change agent. So, maybe a smart thing is to team up with a fixer, or maybe a smart thing is to team up with another stabilizer, and then you both together can think about how to sort things out. So when we start talking about how to fix things, a lot of you might have a hard time getting to that place where you feel like that it's a thing that you should think about. Fixers and independents like us, we're just like, you gotta fix this over here, let's go do this. So it's not necessarily that you don't have the confidence, but a lot of times it's not that you feel like that you intuitively think that it's yours to fix. It's yours to fix is what we're talking. So if you're a stabilizer and organizer and that's sort of your feeling, that's probably what's going on there a little bit. So
yeah. So the first thing you can do in order to really think about how change is being processed in your organization by different people and by different groups of people. I'm going to move this a little bit because it's like you only get to see half my head. Maybe it's just because my hair
your hair's kind of crazy happening right
it's
there.
Fine.
It's fine.
I'm trying to channel. What are the Fisher sisters who are in the Hero Club?
About.
Yeah, who are in the Hero Club?
Oh, Danielle and Dana.
Dana. I'm channeling my Dana hair today.
I like it.
I think it's Dana that has the
flippy hair.
The flippy. Well, this is kind of
it's
wild,
cute. Yeah,
and I like it. Okay, so the first thing you can think about is, how is everyone in your organization processing change? And more importantly, and before that even, what does the process of change look like? And you will find that in the second section of IX Leadership, the book. Refine is the second section. And so that talks all about the process of change and then how each culture type goes through it. So then once you learn that, you know how your concept of change works, or how your timeline of change works in adapting to a new environment, and how someone else's does. And then if you find out those two are different, you really have a better understanding of, gosh, this person just seems like they will not let go of what was and latch onto something new. Or, holy smokes, this person is just like going through this like it's no big deal. We just got bought out, and they're acting, they're more worried about going for a run and dinner tonight than they are about the fact that our whole lives are going to change. And that's not the, Mad Hatter principle. That's not because they're a jerk. It's just because they process change differently and on a different timeline. So the first thing you'll want to do in order to be an effective change maker is to understand the differences between you and the people that you're working with. And understanding those people helps you craft your message about what you think you'd like to see happen. and what you think would be successful, and then finding out more about what other people think would be successful.
Hi, Bobby T. Thanks for joining us. So the trick is that a lot of times it's hard to get, you can observe. So we use the experience cube. Thank you. You're just going to have to tell me every time. I don't know why I have a hard time thinking about this. I want to call it a quadrant or something. Anyway, so we a lot of times use an experience cube to do that, which means that you have observations, you have thoughts, you have feelings, and you have wants. And so those are the 4 sort of buckets that we put things in. And a lot of times it's hard for us to remove ourselves from the situation enough to see it objectively. So this is a way that Meg trains all of our supervisor training and everyone we work with basically about how to really think about what's going on. What are you thinking about it? Because you can get it a lot in your own head. Overthinkers unite. That's me. What are your feelings about it? Because a lot of times, the more and more we work and collaborate with leadership development people, the more we see that a lot of times emotion is really just like, we're going to just pretend that doesn't exist. And the great thing about Meg's approach is we want to think about our emotions and what that is and make sure that you're feeling all the feels. But at the end of the day, what do you want? What's your goal? So let's say that you're upset about something that's going on, or you just got bought out and you don't understand why, or what's going to happen, and that freaks you out and you want to know more. Well, sometimes it's hard to get over the freak out to actually figure out what it is you want to know. And frankly, sometimes the wanting to know scares the crap out of you, to be honest. You have to decide you want to know. So using that, and maybe we can post a graphic about that in the comments after the show, after the live. So you kind of see what it is, because it helps to have a visual for me. But so it's the, and so when you want something to change, you have to be able to A, recognize it's an issue, and then B, understand how you can actually, what do you want to change very specifically. I use an example all the time of getting a steak ordered incorrectly at a restaurant. So let's say you get a steak and it's done incorrectly. Then you're going to call the server over and be mad, and that's fine. You get to be disappointed that your steak's not done right. But what do you want? Do you want a new steak? Do you want a free meal? Do you want him to recook it? And that means that you're going to be 20 minutes behind all your other guests that you're eating with. Like, what do you actually want to have happen? Because if you don't know what you want to have happen, then the server can't actually help you. And so that's a really important thing to understand, is what do you think is going to help fix the problem? So I would suggest that if you're not really sure how to sort of even start, I'd start there. And that way, when you go to your boss or you go to your colleagues or you go to your teammates and you say, instead of just saying, oh, this is driving me crazy, you can say, this is driving me crazy, and I think it would be better if we did this, and that thing. So be sure you have a really clear want and what you're trying to achieve, so that other people can either support you or help you develop the idea or whatever it is that you feel is the next step.
Yeah. Okay, should we answer our questions?
Sure.
Okay. Once I identify the problem, how can I use my understanding of culture types to better communicate that problem to management? Oh man, this is where it really bums me out that we don't have a live classroom where I can call on people.
Be glad that you're on the interwebs right now.
I will be getting you.
She calls out people on her personal Facebook lives, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah. But, so the first real thing, besides all the other stuff I said was first, just a minute ago. The next first thing is, we just talked about this sort of in a different context, actually, but last night on a podcast we were a guest of, decide you want to know, or in this context, I guess it would be decide that you actually want to do something about it. So nothing drives me more crazy, especially from my time as the HR and manager, director of people person. Nothing drives me more crazy than someone who comes in and says, gee, there's a problem, and then takes a chocolate from my desk and walks out. Like, do not be the person, love Meg, do not be the person who walks in and does not offer up some sort of solution, or say, I don't know what the solution is, but here's the problem. I'd like to be part of the solution. I need your help. So make sure that you're ready to actually take on some sort of challenge if you want something to be different. As an example, if if you say, gee, we really want to repaint, well, we're sitting in a conference room right now. We'd really love to repaint the conference room.
It is pretty boring.
It is boring. We're in an accounting firm. That's normal.
We love you, accounting people.
We do. All of these beige walls make me sort of fall asleep when we're in meetings, and I just want there to be a little bit of color in here. We don't even have to paint the walls, but maybe could we just hang up a few pictures? So there, at least you have some sort of maybe we could hang pictures. That's a solution. But then when it comes down to it and the HR person or the whomever in your organization says, okay, gang, we're going to go paint walls on Saturday, you can be like, oh, well, gee, look at the time. I have to walk my dog. That for me personally, but I think for organizations as a whole is a real problem. And that taking that initiative and being part of the solution is what creates a change maker, or the difference between a change maker and a
Bellyacher.
Good job, because I just almost said a bad word.
I know.
A change maker and a bellyacher. So if you want to actually make an impact, then you have to be ready to be part of the solution.
Or if you don't even really want to make an impact, if you're the order tolerant and you just want to take care of a problem or have a problem go away, you gotta kind of jump in. And that will be harder for stabilizers and organizers, but it'll really help you if everybody's going to do it together. And so for the stabilizer side, for the organizer side, sometimes you just need to do it. Decide this is a problem, it needs to be fixed, and then you do it. You guys are great at doing. So that's really the power that we see on the order tolerant types, is that you really actually get things done. The sort of scolding about belly aching and not fixing and not actually doing can actually be the chaos tolerant end of the spectrum. Lots of ideas, not always so great at the follow through. So in this case, order tolerant people are like getting shit done. And so thinking about how you can use your understanding of culture types to better communicate, I think this is super interesting because you can make this change happen faster, easier, better, more fun, more efficiently, more effectively by understanding culture types. So if you go in and you say, we need to paint the room, I guess there's some kind of pattern in that end of the room, just noticed. If you want to hang pictures or paint the room, and you could say, if you go to your management, their culture type, and they're a fixer and you could say, hey, this is going to make our meetings be a lot more engaged because people will have more of a energy. Maybe you take the color theory in there and show them what colors you should put. If they're an organizer, they're going to want to know why and why those colors and how much it might cost or who's going to do it. A lot of times those organizers want to know the plan before they ever even consider listening. So for me, a lot of that culture type knowledge starts with, who am I trying to sell this to? Is it a fixer? Is it an organizer? Is it a stabilizer? Is it an independent? Independents will be like, sure, here's $50, go buy whatever paint you want, go to town, right? And so to me, to affect change, it helps to who is the decision maker, who has the authority, and then who are they, and then start from there. So that's one way culture types can really help you craft your message and gain buy-in for sure.
Yep. And I think along those same lines, another important thing to think about is to have patience. So you know the culture types, you know how to sell something to someone, but just because it might actually be a really good idea and you've given them all the information they want, or you've given them the facts about the fun or how it can, make everybody more innovative or whatever you need to do to sell it, just because they don't right away say, oh, okay, let's go do it, get so frustrated that you give up on it. Have some patience, expect some no's, expect some challenges.
True.
It's going to give you, it's kind of like, in the movies all the time, you see somebody asking for something and they're so much expecting a no that when they get a yes, they continue to argue their point. They're like, yes, but we should, oh, did you just say yes? So I think that's in Tommy Boy. That's one of my favorite places.
Fantastic.
That's a fantastic movie about just human beings generally. But so if you kind of condition your brain to expect no's and expect challenges up front, then when you get a yes, it will feel even better.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And I think an important part of that recognizing you're gonna get no's is it is not personal. They're not telling you no. They are saying, I am not comfortable with new ideas. So whenever you get that pushback, recognize that it's not about, I can't go talk to Meg about it because if Meg says no, she's not going to like me. Or it's about, she's going to say no because it's about me. She's going to say no because it's a new idea and she takes a little time to take it on. So you really have to recognize that it's not about you a lot of times. A lot of times it's that you have a new idea and people aren't comfortable with new ideas. But again, if you know that culture type, you can maybe tweak the language to help them take it on a little faster. So then then if you're like me and have no patience, then you can actually shorten that time of waiting, or the let go phase. If you are familiar with our KCTM, it's the refined portion of the book. So
yeah, then the next trick after that, the next first thing is to create buy-in with people around you. Talk to people. Now, before I say all of this, I will say, do not go. This is the difference between change makers and bellyachers. Bellyachers go around and they shop around their idea and say, oh, well, this is a problem and that is a problem, and so we have to do this other thing, and then they don't actually ever do anything and they stir up a whole bunch of trouble for other people. Don't be that guy. However, it's really important to create buy-in, because if your leadership team is hearing the same thing from more than one person, it does become a reality they have to deal with. And so if Rachel and I and 3 other people work together and we happen to be standing around the microwave all waiting for to warm up our lunch, say, hey, I was really thinking I'd love to paint the conference room a different color, just like one wall, blah, 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 blah. And then other people will start talking about it. And then you'll start to hear what other people are saying. And then the leadership's going to walk by and they're going to hear it. And then the next time you're in a meeting in the conference room, somebody's going to say, yeah, you're right. I think if we did paint that wall like a sage green, it would really make the fake tree in the corner pop, or whatever. No one would ever say that. That was a fucking horrible. No one would ever say that. But anyway, that's just my really bad example for the day.
I love it. I love it so much.
It's important to start thinking about how you can create buy-in. And a lot of times we sort of have ourselves in a silo where we think, well, I'm obviously the only one who would ever want to change the color. Nobody else seems to be fussed about the color of the walls. So why would I even say anything? You're probably not on an island. No matter what any serious situation besides the wall and the fake tree, you are not on an island. If it's something that's bothering you, chances are there are other people that are being bothered by it. Again, don't be a bellyacher. Don't stir the pot and cause problems. But it's important that you start finding out how other people are perceiving the same issue that you have. And bonus material, if in fact you do try and create buy-in and you're the only person who has a problem with said thing, a couple of things could be happening. One, you're being discriminated against.
Giant pain in the ass.
You're a giant pain in the ass. No. One, you're probably being discriminated against and no one else is, and so you should go consult with HR immediately.
Oh, good Lord.
Or maybe you're really not cut out for either your role or the organization that you're working in. So then you really want to start thinking about, what is my culture type and what is my job, and do all of those things match?
You should give an example of that, because I'm not sure I follow the logic. If you care about things no one else cares about.
We're getting a lot of
Carrie. Carrie's here. Hi, Carrie.
Carrie's giving us all of the feels. Well, let's say you're working in the manufacturing industry, which the manufacturing industry, by our estimation and research, is mostly a stabilizer industry.
Full of stabilizers.
So meaning that if you'll all close your eyes for a moment, unless you're driving, do not close your eyes, and think about the I Love Lucy episode where Lucy and Ethel,
I don't know the woman's name,
are working at the chocolate factory, and they've got to move the chocolates from here to there, and pretty soon they're taking them and putting them under their hat and in their mouth and throwing them over their shoulder because they can't keep up, right? But they're like bored out of their minds because at first it's just like so slow. So manufacturing industry, Stabilizers. If you're a fixer or an independent and your job or your role is to move a widget from point A to point B all day long, and you're miserable about that, and you keep saying to people, hey, Rachel, wouldn't it be so much more fun if we had to like move the widget and then everybody race to the wall and move back? And Rachel would be like, no.
That seems like exercise.
Yeah, I love moving the widget back and forth all day long. So my point is that if you're in an industry or in a role and no one else that's in that same industry or role is identifying with your concern about like how boring the job is, or holy shit, this is too fast paced for me and I need some consistency because I'm in a startup industry or something, start thinking about that. Maybe it's actually something about the job itself or the company or the industry itself that you don't love.
I see.
Does that solve the
It does
mystery?
A little bit. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What are some telltale signs that indicate which culture type my organization is, and how can I use that to better understand the problem? This is a really interesting question because I'm going to use Jake and Tesla as an example. Jake's our IX ambassador from the Giga something factory in Tesla. So it was really interesting because I'm always checking in with him because he's a fixer and loves to be a fixer and is amazing at it. But he's in a traditionally stabilizer industry, which is manufacturing. They actually do the things to make the things. So it's the manufacturing plant. And so I'm always checking in with him. What are the stabilizers feeling about this? How are they doing? What is their reaction? And I always warn him that he's going to feel bored as a fixer in that environment. And so he's going to try to stir up excitement, and that's going to make his stabilizers crazy. And so it's really interesting to think about what kind of company you're in, because in Tesla, even at Tesla's this very, right, like crazy, probably independent kind of company. And sometimes we see that stopping at the executive team and being then, the independent executive has a team of fixers and they filter it down, and then the people just do whatever it is they do. In Tesla, they actually try to push down Elon's philosophies about, hey, if you have a problem, you go talk to whoever you need to talk to. You don't have to go through a chain of command. Or instead of having like safety stretch out briefings like the way that sort of traditional manufacturing does, they have what they call whiteboard meetings where they go and they try to figure out what's going on and what's happening and how can we solve problems. And that's traditionally not what manufacturing looks like. And so it's really interesting. This one time I was asking Jake, like, what do you think the biggest challenges are for your place and your factory? And he said that it's traditional manufacturing people coming into the Tesla environment. And so they assume, the manufacturing people with experience assume that Tesla is going to be similar to other manufacturing places they've worked. And when they get there, it's a really hard integration because everyone that came into Tesla started with Tesla and sort of had lived and breathed that sort of more independent / chaos tolerant approach. It's a really hard culture to match. But once, we start talking about it, and he's like, oh, that makes so much more sense. They're expecting stabilizer. We are fixer / independent. And then you can start fixing those challenges. But if I came into that company as a stabilizer, because I'm a manufacturing expert, and all of a sudden I have all this chaos going on, I might try to fix that problem. Or I might think, someone needs to fix this problem because this is not how manufacturing's done. And there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, Tesla has been plagued with quality issues, replacement parts not matching the original. And so there are some things to say about how things are getting done. And so, we have somebody else new that's saying hi. And so if you're a fixer, if you're like a tried and true Tesla person, and you're hearing these stabilizers objecting to how you do things, you're going to immediately say, wait a minute, we're Tesla, we do things differently, and you should understand how we do things. And so you really do have to understand what kind of organization you're in and what their philosophy is as far as culture and how nimble they are. If you're in a startup, they're going to be much more chaos tolerant. If you're at IBM, they're going to be much more order tolerant and a lot of bureaucracy. It feels like a lot of overhead. And that's just stabilizer kind of companies. They've had a lot of time to put things in place that feel a lot of heavy lifting. And it also just we're seeing some trends in industry. So we found all the organizers, they are CPAs or, and so we were worried about finding organizers. Well, because a lot of times the company has one or two and that's it. And we started wondering, is our test not finding them? So our assessment, yep, it does. They're just all in a different industry. And so some industries tend to attract different kinds of people. So that can help you or give you a hint about what kinds of culture type your organization is. But that might be a really hard one to pin down as a whole. Or if it's a really big organization, a lot of times you're dealing with your department manager. What is your department's culture? So that's actually a pretty complicated question, I think.
Yeah, I would say we've talked about it quite a bit. And how does it work? Can you culture type an organization? And I think based on the industry, you can have an idea maybe about what the culture type generally could be in your business. But Tesla's a great example of they're actually intentionally going against the grain. So maybe in that case, you could say, well, we are not like Tesla in many ways, so perhaps we're a stabilizer or organizer organization. What was the other thing I was thinking about? Rachel talked a little bit about thinking about your department, or maybe if you are a site-by-site sort of company, if you're large enough to be site-by-site, think about the leadership in your immediate world, and what is that like? Chances are what your leaders are like in your direct world will help. If you think about that first, it helps you sort of break down or eat the elephant one bite at a time when you're trying to think of, like, if you work for a huge organization, it's like, well, how do I decide if I work for Capital One, how do I decide what kind of an organization they are? Like, I can't even know where to start. There's whatever there are, probably hundreds of thousands of employees. So I think a good place to start is with your own, within your org structure, like your own leadership, and then go up from there and start thinking about what that looks like, and then look at your industry. Are you like others in your industry? Is your organization not like others in the industry? Another good thing to think about, I mean, if you're really going to nerd out on this, another good way to look at it is if the organization you work for is publicly traded, you could look back at historical media and see what kind of news headlines there are. If it's not publicly traded, you can look in obviously the local papers or online. Or just kind of think about the stories that you've heard about the organization you work for. Is it like Tesla and Google headlines? Oh, we've got this cool new thing every 32 seconds. Or is it like there's a bentonite plant out near my hometown, and it has been there and has been doing the same thing, digging up bentonite out of the ground for I don't know how long, forever. They're solid, they're stable, they keep their employees, blah, blah, blah. So you could think about those kinds of things too. How do they show up in the news?
Indicators. Yeah, so I think, I also like the idea. The last question is, what are some tools I can employ to figure out what the problem is? And we've already talked about that a little bit. The thing I really like the idea of is most of us, I think it's 66%, are team oriented. And so I think you could really do a lot both for your confidence in tackling a problem, to team up or get a group together about solving the problem and talking about it. Now you have to be a little careful there too, because what happens is when you have a group together and you're sort of scheming about how you can fix it, and then you're going to go to the leadership and you're going to talk them into it, you have already been thinking about and addressing the problem in your mind for a really long time. And then you go to your leader and you expect them to love it immediately. And they're, again, that case, they're just starting to think about that problem. And so if you think that it's going to take your boss a really long time to make a decision, be strategic. If they're an organizer or stabilizer and they just take a long time to bite off anything, we say a lot, plant the seed. So say something like, hey, we're really thinking about painting the conference room. Do you mind if I talk to a few other people about that, what they think? And they'd say, sure, fine. I mean, I don't know. I know very few leaders that would shut you down at that level. So then they know that you're thinking about it. They can think about it. They know other people are thinking about it. And so then if someone comes to them and says, hey, Rachel's been stirring the pot about painting the conference room, you know about that? And then she can say, oh yeah, I know all about that. I know what's going on. We actually spoke about it a couple months ago. And so by the time it actually comes to you wanting to actually do it, everyone's more likely to be on board. So use the KCTM and the culture types. We sort of say, use it sort of against them in the sense of use your knowledge to be strategic about how you roll issues, solve problems, and actually create change within your organization, because that will really help you both manage your own expectations, understand where they are and how they're reacting, and how to actually pull something off.
Right on.
Okay.
I think we covered all the topics for today.
Yeah, I think we'll call it a little bit early. We went late last week. We've got a big event here that we're leading at the top of the hour. So I think it's a good time for us to break. And thank you so much for being here. I know a lot of you will watch this after you get home or at a later time. So thanks for taking the time to sit and listen. For those of you who are here live, always great to see you and see your emoticons flashing across the screen. Although we're still kind of new at this, so it's a little distracting.
Yeah,
we're like, what's happening down there?
I feel like you don't have to be new at it. I feel like who would ever not be like, what's flashing on my screen?
Blah, 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 blah.
Something important.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And then I guess if you are going to be in any of the places we're going to be, Meg's going to be in Pierre, talking in our state capitol, talking to all the sheriffs and some conservation district people a few weeks after that, and going to Aberdeen in March to speak to the Women's Business Conference. And I'll be at Sioux Falls this week, at Nashville next week, Grand Rapids, Michigan the week after that. So we're kind of starting a huge road tour. So you might not see us together again for quite some time. But
don't worry, nothing happened.
No, nothing happened. Well, one of us will be here every week to say hello and to continue your IX ambassador journey. And we look forward to continuing that with you guys.
All right. Lead powerfully.
Change the world. Love ya.